This Week in Startups is brought to you by Upside, the best new way to buy business travel. Visit upside.com, enter the promo code TWIST, and you're guaranteed to get at least a $100 Amazon gift card after booking your first trip. And Squarespace. Start building your website today at squarespace.com. Enter offer code TWIST at checkout to get 10% off.
All right. So if a founder wants to pitch you, what's the best way? This is always the big question for investors.
How do you answer this question? It's hard to receive just random unsolicited inbound because there's just so much to go through. That's when you go on a podcast and you talk about that, and all of a sudden you get a inbox full of emails. Yeah. I would say I run into a lot of founders at coffee shops and out and about in the Bay Area.
Yeah, you're recognizable.
The most effective way, without a doubt, and this isn't just for me, this is for any potential venture capitalist, is to have something tangible to show them.
Right.
If someone is going to airdrop me a PDF deck or show me a demo on their phone, like I've always got 5 minutes to sit down with someone and just like, oh, I'd love to see your idea. Because why not? It sounds great.
Zero cost.
Yeah. So
as opposed to reading an 8-page email about your life story.
That's right. Or someone that just sits down and just like, hey, I think I want to go build this. And those aren't really the... I'm happy to have that conversation too, but
you're not actually happy to have it.
Well, it's typically like, hey, you should go find a technical co-founder, or you need to find that designer or something like that. It's kind of trying to help push them in the right direction there, but you're not ready for funding, I guess is what I'm saying. If we're having that discussion,
too early.
Yeah,
if you're an idea person, it definitely is. From when we started, the whole ecosystem seems to have moved down a little bit, where it used to be an idea or a mock-up could get funded, and right before you were launched, or right after launch, you could get a Series A. I mean, people were investing in companies pre-Series A, pre-launch for the Series A.
Color.
That
was a big one.
$35 million Series A, $40 million Series A. I think what happened was they were like, he's such a bankable, because he had sold Lala or something. Were you an investor in Color?
No, I wasn't.
I think he had sold Lala or something, which became Apple Music. And he's like, well, he sold this huge thing to Apple. Why don't we give him the Series A and the Series B at the same time?
Right.
And just let him go to work. It's obviously going to work. I mean, it wasn't the most crazy idea when you think about the return, Instagram and some other stuff Facebook was having. But that was just too complicated, that product. But it had a lot of good ideas. The proximity-based photos, I always thought was a great idea.
Yeah, I feel like a handful of those features actually made it to other products eventually.
Sort of, yeah. Like photos around you. It's probably in the Explore tab.
Yeah, exactly.
You probably see some, like if you're at Coachella, you're probably going to see some Coachella images eventually.
Exactly.
But yeah, it does seem like you need to have a strategy for, I always tell entrepreneurs, understand who you're pitching, right? Like if you're pitching a very well-known venture capitalist who has more deal flow than they can ever deal with, and they do Series B, and you have an idea,
right?
Why are you emailing them? Like they've already signaled they don't do this. Right? Like, that's why I've been super public. Like, here is where I'm looking for companies. Like, exactly in this zone. If you're in this zone, we should totally get together.
Yeah.
If you're not in this zone, you should totally watch This Week in Startups. And you'll get all the tips you want.
What is your zone? Are you still doing consumer?
I basically have said to myself, I don't care what vertical they're in. I just care if they are passionate and they have craftsmanship and they're just good at what they do and they're passionate about it. And the way I determine that is I look at their early products. So when I look at your Oak app, the meditation app, I look at it and I go, okay, those like beautiful vector graphics and it's growing based on my based on my own performance as a meditator. I say, okay, number one, they get that single purpose apps. This founder gets single purpose apps are the trend. They understand that high quality graphics are table stakes. They understand that gamification is incredibly powerful.
But not too much.
But
especially in meditation, you don't want to make it ego-driven, like with levels and things like that.
Yeah, so there's a way to overdo it, and there's a subtle way to do it. Like a streak, probably not that big. Not bad. But like unique coins to get to the next meditation and unlock your mantra. Unlock the fourth letter of your mantra. That's to get your seventh letter.
That would be amazing. You're just like
coming soon.
Oh
my. Watagu Siam. That's my mantra.
I should use that. You can pay to unlock the whole thing all at once. That's all.
You want to hear your new mantra? Here it is. Owa.
Oa?
Tagu
Tagu?
Siam.
What are you making me say? You're making me say something bad.
It's not bad. It's funny. Siam.
Siam.
Owa
Oa Tagu Siam.
Siam. Owa Tagu Siam.
Oa Tagu Siam. Love that.
This is what we used to do in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, totally.
When you want to become a Boy Scout, they would have you sit in front of the fire on your knees with your hands up. And you go, Owa Tagu Siam. And they would tell you were repeating an ancient tribal
Right.
ritual and that a message will come to you. And when you hear the message of the fire gods, come over here.
Was this Order of the Arrow? What was this?
This is Boy Scouts.
Did you make Eagle?
No, I was first class.
First class.
Which was,
like
did you
halfway.
make Eagle?
Yeah.
You made Eagle. Wow, that's good. I was like a bad kid. So like I just, but that's amazing you made Eagle Scout.
2 palms. It's like after Eagle, you get palms. I didn't get the third one.
So you were definitely into gamification. Boy Scouts was like the original gamification. Merit badges.
I would love to reinvent the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
Seriously.
This would be a huge business because the Boy Scouts won't let gay people in.
They won't let gay people in. There's a bunch of things there. It's just
out.
too much baggage going on.
It's wacky.
It's wacky. And just going in and completely, like, the merit badges are still so old school. Like, where's like JavaScript merit badge? And like,
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, let's modernize it a little bit.
Yeah, no, it would be.
Girl Scouts too. The cookies are poison. You ever look at the ingredients of those cookies? They're all partially
terrible.
hydrogenated oils.
Yeah.
I don't know,
What are they doing? They taste pretty good though.
They taste really good. Those Thin Mints
What's your
in the
favorite?
freezer.
The Thin Mints in the freezer is a power move.
The freezer.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The chocolate covered peanut butter one.
Those are are you talking about the coconut chocolate ones? I like
there's
those.
that, but there's another one. That's
I
a
know which
graham
one you're
cracker
talking about.
cookie with peanut
Yeah,
butter
what
and
is
then
that
covered in
called?
chocolate. Emmy award-winning producer. This is why you're here, is to make sure this is how you get Emmys. This is how you get that 5th Emmy, Jackies, by letting us know what the name of the Girl Scout cookies are.
Samoa.
Samoa. Woo!
Oh, they don't call it Samoa. It's not PC.
That would not be PC. You definitely. Wow, here it is. Thin Mints, Caramel Delights / Samoas.
Those caramel
Peanut butter
delights are
patties,
so good.
tag-alongs. These ones, the tag-alongs are the ones.
Yeah, I used to love those too.
Oh my god, because it's just like
So click on the ingredients here. Can you expand down the?
I don't
It's
even want to
all
know. Oh my god, it's gonna
overly
be-
processed flour and partially hydrogenated oils. Sadly.
Yeah, they're not even going to tell you.
Yeah.
They're not even-
patty details. There you go.
Oh my god, this is going to be terrible. They're going to hide this. It's going to be like
ABC Smart Cookies. Here we go. Did they get rid of partially
2
hydrogenated
cookies,
fats?
130, sugar, peanut butter,
Is there any partially
corn syrup.
hydrogenated? No, I think we're okay.
processed
Corn syrup's bad.
vegetable oil, corn syrup, terrible.
High fructose corn syrup. Oh man, see, this is
Terrible.
the problem. Just like give me a natural cookie.
This
I'm
would
all
be
for cookies. I'll eat cookies all
That'd
day
be a
long.
power
I just
move.
want quality.
This would be a super power move. Oh wow, you're in Blue Bottle. You're in the
Yes.
Blue Bottle.
Yeah, I invested GV's money and then also my own personally.
What was it like working at Google Ventures?
It was fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. Google. Bill Maris, who's now he was.
He left and then did he come
left.
back?
Yeah. So Bill started Google Ventures many years ago, and I had a blast working for him. He was.
I
awesome.
got to get that guy on the show. I've been trying to get him
You
on the
got
show.
him.
He is so candid.
Oh, he's amazing. The
Stuff he said publicly is so great.
Do you want me to introduce you guys?
Please.
Okay. You
Just
gotta
let
come on
him
the
know
show.
that we're simpatico because he said some of the craziest stuff publicly.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's
The
amazing.
thing- here's the thing with Bill, is that with Bill, as you can imagine, that can be very polarizing to some people.
Sure.
They're just like,
Can't-
oh my God.
Don't I know it? Like
Yeah.
being candid.
Well, the thing is, you always know where you stand with him.
Yes.
There's no BS.
Right.
And if he thinks something is stupid and it sucks, he says it.
Right.
And I love that. That was so much fun at Google Ventures because he would just speak his mind. But some folks, that kind of can turn them off. So, but I think it's a great trait, especially if you understand that that's where it's coming from.
My favorite was when Secret
Oh yeah, he called
it a bank heist.
big.
And I think he said something similar. He wound up taking that one back a little. He backtracked that one a little bit after I talked to the founder. I understand.
Yeah.
But he also came out and was like, he basically revealed why they passed on Theranos.
That's right.
Was like, well, if you don't, I think his line of thinking was, well, if we're going to give you money, we kind of need to see the product. I don't know. Sounds pretty non-controversial to me. I mean, what is going on? Can you imagine you raise that much money, you put 75-year-old retired generals on your board, and there's nothing there?
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know enough about the behind the scenes there, but that it just The stories have sounded insane.
Well, she had 2 investors sue her. When do you ever see an investor sue a founder?
It's pretty rare.
And the reason it's rare is?
Well, it's typically because they did something like they might go to jail.
It would have to be on the real end of...
Yeah, because it would make you look really bad as an investor if you're just suing them over petty things. But if it's truly something that's
egregious.
Egregious, then...
It would have to be you felt that there was fraud or that you were wronged, in my mind. That's so when they sue for $100 million, because anybody who's an investor, like we always say, like 2 out of 3 fail, and you make it back on the one that succeeds, or whatever you think the number is, 3 out of 4 fail, 4 out of 5, whatever. So if you're used to failing as the default use case, and then you do sue, well, you would seem like you're being petty. Like, it didn't work. Okay, well, yeah, most startups don't work.
Right, exactly. No one sues unless it's something really egregious.
You just move on. The next opportunity is right there.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about a brand new service called Upside.com. My assistant Jess has been using it here, and it is awesome. You go to Upside.com and you book your hotel and your flight together, and they give you an Amazon gift card for between $100 and $300. Yes, if you are booking your hotel and your airline ticket together, your flight and your hotel together, that saves a lot of money for you, and they pass that along in the form of an Amazon gift card. If you're a frequent biz traveler, your company saves a bunch of money, and you can get thousands of dollars a year just by buying your air and hotel together at Upside.com. Plus, you'll still get all your miles, so there's no issue there. And it takes about 3 minutes, or less actually, I did it less than 3 minutes, to see how much you can save by buying your flights and hotel together for one low price. So here is your call to action. Please go to Upside.com and enter the promo code TWIST, and you will get at least a $100 Amazon gift card for free for your first trip. It is a no-brainer. Save big on travel and get a big gift card every trip. That call to action, one more time, go to Upside.com and use the promo code TWIST. It's great to have you as a partner on the podcast. Thanks a lot to Upside for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. Okay, speaking of which, let's get back to this amazing episode. All right, listen, Kevin, it's great to have you back in town. I look forward to hanging and sharing deal flow. You know which company did great that I believe you introduced me to was Cozy.
Oh, yeah. They've been killing it,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to make a lot of money on that, I think.
They're really starting to scale now. It's crazy. I just got their most recent investor update. I'm sure you did a week ago. Yeah.
You know what I always tell? This is the 2 things I learned in early stage investing. Number 1, if you're not getting updates, 90% of the time the company's going out of business. 10% of the time it's Uber. And they're too busy. Yeah. Right? Like it's usually, or 98% of the time, they're failing and it's just going to crash and burn. And they're just got too much pride to send an update. The second is when you get a chart, it's because things are going really well.
Right.
Founders don't send a chart that's sideways or spiky. They only send a chart if it's up and to the right.
That's true.
So when Cozy started sending the chart, what was that, about 18 months ago, the chart started coming?
Yeah.
And the chart's like,
That's funny. You could probably use machine learning just to look into your investor update emails and figure out which ones are doing well based on the number of charts included.
I have a much easier thing now. I'll only invest in a company if in our side letter they agree to a monthly update with the facts first. So I'm actually define this. And then
monthly seems a little tough. Quarterly?
I will tell them quarterly's too far because then
you just want information rights, right?
I have information rights, but that means you have to go drag them out,
right?
And then you look like a douche if you're like, "Can I get the monthly P&L?" It's like, just send a short. I tell them short is fine, like literally 1 paragraph on key metrics. We're pre-product, we're pre-monetization, and here's the user growth. Boom. And what I find is it's a bit of a tell if somebody fights it. So almost every time somebody's fought it, and I've said okay quarterly or okay 6 times a year, almost every time they fight it, they wind up not performing. It's a really interesting thing. And I think it's twofold. One, the people who are willing to write it are thinking about their business, right? And if they're thinking about their business and they have to write that update, the second piece is, I think if you have to write that update to your investors every month,
it's like a forcing function.
It's a forcing function that you're like, what do I want to have happen in the next update?
Right.
What would be success in the next update?
Right.
Ooh, 10 more customers, $1,000 more in MRR.
That's a good point, yeah.
So it's almost like, when you created your fasting app, the fact that you have an app for fasting will make you more successful at fasting, right? If you can measure it, you can manage it. So I kind of see it as that.
Yeah.
So I went with Inside.com and I asked my president, the GM, Austin, to write a weekly. And then we send it to all investors, and we said, you're on the weekly update with the core metrics only. There's a little narrative at the bottom, but it's just how many emails were opened, how many newsletters we're publishing, and revenue, and a paragraph about whatever else is going on.
It seems like you're launching new newsletters all the time. You know, I'm a fan of that, the AI one that you
Yes,
guys do.
Technically Sentient.
Yeah, so
That's
you just
doing really
renamed
well.
that from something else.
We're going to name it. It was Technically Sentient. One of my portfolio companies, Tala, was doing this, and then they said, we have 500 people. And I was like, well, we have 2,000 people waiting for us to start it. Because what we did with Inside was we're like, vote on which newsletter you want.
Right.
When it hits 2,000,
Then you
we'll
automatically-
Kickstarter
yeah,
and start
I
it.
saw that.
Because the first 1,000 emails, 2,000 are the hardest. Once you have that, there's some natural organic forwarding that occurs. So we kind of merged it with his and then did like a joint venture kind of thing. But we're launching one a week for 2017. Hopefully we'll have 60 by the end of the year.
Cool.
10
I've been doing a newsletter, and
Yours is once a month.
once a month, yeah.
So genius.
Yeah, the open rate is hovering right around 70%.
Unprecedented 70%. When you,
is crazy.
If you were to go to weekly, it would go down to 50.
That's right.
And if you went to daily, it would go down to 30.
Right.
But when you add up those numbers, what we learned was, because we started at 40 to 60%, and then as we added more newsletters, the opens went down, the percentage went down, but the overall opens went up. So I think the AI one is once a week now. We're going to make it twice a week. And we're launching this week partial paywall. So did you know Stratechery?
No.
Stratechery is like a really good newsletter that like thousands of people pay $10 a month for. And you get like 1 or 2 a week free, and then there's 2 or 3 a week paid. So that's the model we're going to do. I call it partial paywall.
Yeah, I do that with the information.
The information you pay or don't pay.
I pay.
So that's $400. You get everything.
Yeah, I get their email. I like that I read it via newsletter, and then I just click through and open them up.
Right. So what we decided was we're going to do like 1 day a week for Technically Sentient Inside AI, and then we'll put a section, let's say we go to 2 days a week. The top of it with the news could be free. But then on not just an email basis, like Monday's free and Wednesday's paid, we're going to make it Monday and Wednesday are free. But the feature article at the bottom is blurred out, and it says click here to unlock for $10 a month.
Oh, cool.
So it's almost like a section by section, so the writers can say, you know what, this review or this interview is worth paying for.
Right.
The general news we'll give you for free, so you get 80% for free. But this interview we're doing, that took a writer X amount of time. We're going to charge, or we're going to only give it to the paid people. So we'll see if it works. If it does work, it could be the most sustainable editorial product we ever
Or they
made.
could pay with Jason Coin.
Or Jcoin. I was actually thinking about that. How do you do an ICO around an email newsletter?
That would be pretty awesome.
Well, then if you were an early subscriber, actually I know how to do it. If you're an early subscriber, has anybody put an ICO and a referral program together?
I don't think so.
That's the win. An ICO where if you refer somebody, you get a Jcoin.
Oh, interesting.
If they refer somebody to the newsletter, they get a Jcoin and you get a Jcoin.
Right.
So it's MLM.
It's the whole Dropbox. We'll give you 250 megs. Yeah.
They call it give and get is the device. So if you give your Oak, when you have Oak Premium, if you ever do Premium, if you have Oak Premium, if you give it to somebody, you get a month free. Have you used Grammarly?
I have. I love it.
I am crazy about Grammarly.
It's so good.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if they're reading what I'm writing and reading what people are writing. I'm worried a little bit about privacy.
You're wondering if they're doing it locally or server side.
Well, I know that there are some things that are obviously a machine. But let's say we start using ICO over and over again, or we're using some new device, like M dashes, dash, the long dash is called an M dash. It's like an editorial device that isn't frequently used. I wonder if they're reading and they've got grammar, Nazis over there, like figuring out
No one looks at that. That's all.
No one looks at it. All automated.
Yeah.
Have you tried the paid where you can have somebody proof?
Yeah, I have tried that as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah.
How long
they get
did
it back
it
to you in
take?
like an hour. You can choose the time window in which you want it back.
And what is it, like $10 or $5?
It's a little bit more than that, I think, if you want it back pretty quick. But I just use it as like an extra set of eyes on a big blog post, that kind of thing.
I just finished my book, and at one point I was just like, I found Grammarly in the middle, and I just started putting every chapter into Grammarly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow.
It really exposes a lot of dirty laundry there. It's like you use the word really like way too much.
Yeah, they're like, wow, great is an overused word.
Right.
Awesome. You are too awesome. So then I had all the writers at Inside say, I told them how to use Grammarly, and then one person kept having errors. It's like, I just cut and pasted this into Grammarly. And they're like, oh, I was on somebody else's computer and I didn't want to install the Chrome extension. I was like, there's a web-based version. Like, would you rather people getting the email get an error?
Right. It's a real helper.
Hey everybody, I want to tell you about one of my favorite services in the world, Squarespace. That's how I build all of my websites. Now, back in the day, if I wanted a beautiful website, I had to hire a designer, hire a bunch of freelancers. I'd be on Craigslist. I'd be putting out ads. I'd have to go to 10 meetings. It literally would take me months to pick somebody, months to build the website. And now we use Squarespace here at launch. And every time we do a new event, whether it's the Scale Conference or the Angel Summit, I have a website up in an hour. It takes longer for me to get the domain name redirected to the website than it does to build the website. That's how crazy awesome Squarespace is. You can make a beautiful website instantly. These are professionally designed and it's so intuitive and so easy to use. Everybody on my team can update the website, change the website, and they're all responsive. And I know that this drives you crazy. You take out your phone, somebody sends you a link by email to go to a conference and it doesn't work. It's broken. You have to just pinch and zoom. No, not with Squarespace. All of their templates are responsive and gorgeous on a tablet, on mobile, or on your desktop. It's state-of-the-art tech, so it's super secure and stable. You're not going to worry about your site going down. You're not going to worry about it getting hacked. It's trusted by millions. Some of the most respected brands in the world, including my own, use Squarespace. I love Squarespace. So here's your call to action. It's pretty simple. Go start your free trial today. No credit card required. And you get a free domain if you sign up for a year. That's a great deal. And when you decide to sign up for Squarespace, because it's so beautiful and so easy to use and so secure and so stable, all those great reasons, just use the offer code TWIST and you will get 10% off your first purchase. Thank you so much to my friends at Squarespace. They've been super supportive of this podcast and everything I do. We're going to host a book reading of my book Angel at Squarespace's headquarters in July. Anthony and the team over there, it means the world to me that you support everything I do and that you make such great software. I'm sorry I missed that as an angel investment. Gosh, I'm such an idiot. I wish I had met Squarespace when they were a young company. But listen, it's a great product. You're going to love it. Whenever anybody in your family or your friends, your spouse, your kids, anybody says to you, I need a website put up, just go to Squarespace. Save them time. Go to squarespace.com. It is that easy to use, and it's totally gorgeous. They have templates for everything. Okay, listen, I could talk all day about Squarespace. Let's get back to this amazing episode.
It's
What's
amazing.
your favorite app now?
My favorite app right now? Gosh,
We're
put me
like
on
in the last
spot.
couple of months.
That's a good question. The new Things is quite good.
Things.
Yeah, the new version.
Yeah.
It just came out. It's going
What
to
is
win an
that?
Apple Design Award. It's a to-do list.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Who
beautiful.
makes that, you know?
I'm not sure which company makes it.
I really need to get a to-do list that works.
This one is.
I had Wunderlist for a while. I wanted to get my team on a to-do list, but then I realized I don't like managing my team's to-do list. Mm-hmm. So
You can share to-do lists through this as well. Wunderlist is going away.
I know,
that,
they're
right?
sunsetting it.
That's right. So Microsoft has launched their own to-do.
Microsoft's got to really rethink this. This is a bad
I know,
strategy.
it's bad.
They did it with Sunrise, and I was a dedicated Sunrise user, and I love Outlook. I think Outlook is the best email client for iOS.
Oh, absolutely. Outlook on the desktop is horrible.
Yeah, but on iOS,
Right.
I can't believe it's better.
It's in my dock. It is my go-to email
My
client.
doc too.
Yeah, it's
and
right
in
there at the
fact,
bottom.
This is where they're making such a gigantic mistake. I have Outlook and Gmail there because I like the Gmail search. I told the Outlook people, like, why is your search terrible? The thing I used to have Outlook, Sunrise, Wunderlist, Twitter. Mm-hmm. What's your doc?
My dock right now is phone, Safari, Outlook, calendar. And so I've been going back and forth. So the problem I have is True is all based on Outlook and Exchange. And then I should just use Outlook. But in terms of like apps that I've been using recently, Pocket Cast is great for podcasts.
Yes.
I love that. It trims out all the little dead space. So
does it really?
Yeah, you can turn that on. It saves a ton of time when you're
What is
listening to
that called?
podcasts. Pocket Casts.
Pocket Cast.
I
I think I had that.
do you know
so they
Vivino?
which one?
The wine where you take a picture of that one's awesome.
I'm not a wine drinker. I get really into the wine.
I like the new Google Photos. I've been using that quite a bit.
That's crazy good. It's
crazy
for search.
good.
It's nuts. You're like scuba diving. It's like, here you go. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. It's
search is
so
weird.
crazy.
It's weird how good it is.
It's really weird. You're like, dog, black hair. It's like only dogs with black hair. You're like,
I'm like, wait a second. Is that machine learning or are they Amazon turking
No, they're not. They're not. It's machine learning.
It's totally machine learning, right?
Yeah. CoinCap is great for all the cryptocurrency stuff, for sure.
You think Bitcoin comes back down to under 1,000?
I think I agree with Fred Wilson. I think Ethereum overtakes Bitcoin's market cap in the next year.
Really?
It's halfway there now.
Ethereum is better because it's smaller blockchain style, smaller transaction size and faster.
Really active development community that isn't at war with each other.
That
number
helps.
one. Number two, all the smart contract stuff and everything else that they're implementing that just, all these little sub tokens and currencies that are happening that Bitcoin doesn't have. So I don't know. Obviously, Bitcoin has the...
If I wanted to buy like a bunch of Ethereum, how would I do that? What's
Coinbase?
the best way? Best way is just Coinbase?
Yeah, I mean, it's the easiest way. There's other Kraken and a bunch of other sites you can wire cash into, but Coinbase is the easiest for US.
How do they make money on each transaction?
That's right.
If I buy $100,000 in Ethereum, how much is that? How much they charge you? 1%?
Something like that, yeah.
So they make 1% of all the money going.
They're raising $100 million right now at $1 billion valuation.
It's crazy.
Insane. So Bitcoin right now is $43 billion. This is the app I was telling you about.
Yeah, I see it.
I don't know that you can
CoinCap,
get it.
yeah.
CoinCap. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it
yeah.
here. Oh, well, you see it lighting up a little bit. That's showing you all the real-time trades.
Yeah, that's cool. Wow, it's real time.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I believe that Bitcoin is a rigged system.
You think it's like...
Let me tell you my theory.
Let's hear it.
Do you think it's rigged? Do you think it's gamed right now?
I think that there are people that certainly they can manipulate the price.
Yes.
And you go and transfer in and out large sums of money, and you can just drop it in seconds. Yeah.
So here's what I think is happening. There are a group of shadow traders, and they are creating a script. And when I say script, I don't mean like a technical script. I mean a script for the public to consume of the power of Bitcoin. Trump destabilizing the world, China deregulation, whatever, contributing to Bitcoin's price. And then what they do is they run actual computer scripts. Imagine if I made hundreds of thousands of wallets over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Nobody would be able to trace that, right?
Right.
The origin of those wallets. You wouldn't know that they came from the same person.
Yeah, they're just addresses that hold coin, right?
Right. So if you and I wanted to create 100,000 wallets, I don't know, 5 years ago or 2 years ago, we could do that, right?
Sure.
Nobody knows who those wallets belong to. Then you and I start trading on some regular basis, a bunch of coin randomly between these 200,000. Then
To pump the volume up is what you're saying.
to maintain a certain level of volume. Mm-hmm. Then we say, you know what? Maybe if the volume was a little lower, but we started trading bigger amounts at higher prices, it would make people start to think, whoa, there's a little momentum here. It went from 200 to 250. People watching it on Twitter and talking about it and watching, whoever at Andreessen Horowitz, go crazy on Twitter talking about how it's going to change the world. Like, maybe I buy at 250 so it goes to 350, then they start doing it, it becomes manifest destiny because they're triggering people to get on this slow.
They're bringing people into the fold, yeah.
And then we have a little bit of a tulip craze.
I mean, that doesn't sound crazy.
How would you ever be able to stop somebody from doing that? There is no... You can't.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is if you take a look at the top cryptocurrencies right now across the board, all of them have jumped in the last 6 months. Even the ones that most people consider to be just kind of garbage.
Yeah.
And so that's, you got to imagine, why is that happening? So is it large kind of index funds that are coming in and buying up a little bit of every coin?
No.
It's really strange. It's suspect.
I think let's say my thesis is right, currency manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Is that currency manipulation though?
Sure it is. It's intentionally changing the price of the currency in order to profit.
But is it a currency? So my question is, the people that are doing this, can the SEC come in and arrest them?
If they're in Russia, no, they're out of the jurisdiction. If they're on some island in the middle of the Caribbean, probably not. If they're through 1,000 different VPNs in China, who knows, right?
Are you doing this?
Yes, I would like to make a confession now. I am.
So you can cover yourself.
Absolutely. Why would I ever confess to this if I would?
Right, exactly.
But now, so let's say it worked for Bitcoin. Then you and I would be like, you know what? It worked for Bitcoin. It's going to work for Ethereum and these other 5.
Right.
Let's go downstream or upstream. Let's grab these other currencies. Let's start buying up, creating zillions of wallets. A lot cheaper. We buy zillions of wallets. We start playing the same game. We run the same algorithm.
Yeah.
And then you just slowly sell your position to the new schmucks coming in.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
I don't think that's crazy. I mean, if you take a look at some of the ICOs that have been happening recently, there was that one I told you about earlier.
30 million?
Yeah, 35 million in 30 seconds.
How's that possible? Somebody must have bought 10 million.
Yes, they were saying that
Big
like
fish?
it was something. There was a few like crazy $4 or $5 million purchases in there.
They're whales.
Yeah, they're whales. So they're just coming in and making these big buys. There's very massive amounts of money flooding into the space. It's insane.
Which makes you wonder, is that Bitcoin money being transferred into a different ICO?
Could be. We don't know.
Oh my God, it's such a brave new world, isn't it?
I know. Do you get in though? The question is like, so I'll give an example. Filecoin's doing their IPO in a few weeks, and I'm thinking about going in quite a bit. The technology is really interesting. I have a couple friends that have now gone in and done a little bit of technical due diligence.
I invested
and
in one
checks
of these companies,
out.
Space Monkey,
Okay.
which was a terabyte hard drive. You put it in your house, and then 500 gigabytes for you, 500 gigabytes for the cloud.
Oh, I heard about
And then
this.
it won the launch festival years ago. It wound up getting bought. It wasn't a home run. It was like a single by getting hit in the head by the ball. But it was like...
Get you to first base.
Get you to first base. Get your money
You
back.
hurt a little bit, but
Yeah, it stings. Stings a bit.
you may have dementia later.
It's like, I'm on base, but it's not how I wanted to get on base. But anyway, the idea would be then I encrypt chunks of mine on yours, you encrypt chunks of mine on mine. We're all backed up in the cloud, and we never had to go up to EC2 or...
Right, that's what Filecoin's about to do.
Right, but they're doing it on just any hard drive. You don't have to buy a physical device. These guys were like, let's sell a physical device so you could buy it at Office Depot, and they did a very successful Kickstarter. So the idea of distributed storage space makes sense, except I don't think it makes sense anymore. So
because the cost of EC2 is just so minimal now, it doesn't really...
As the cost of EC2 goes down, and
it
the
will continue to go
reliability
down.
goes up,
Right.
and Google offers a terabyte for $2 a month, it's like,
Right.
who is the customer for this?
Right.
Who's the customer for unlimited storage or for large storage? It's corporations. Right? You and I don't need it because Google said we'll give you unlimited.
That's right.
I think Google's at a limited for photos. But not,
If they compress them on their
if they
own.
compress them on their own.
Not raw, yeah.
And if you do raw, it would be like $2 a month for a terabyte.
It's not much, yeah.
It's nothing. And so I was just like, you know what? On all my accounts, I just went to a terabyte. Because I was like, why am I even worrying for $100 a year or $200 a year about spending an hour getting rid of my big attachments in Gmail?
Yeah, I was worrying the same thing.
I was like, search attachments greater than 10 meg. I'm like,
I was doing that too.
I'm like, what am I doing here?
Right.
I could just click a button and for $20 be done with this.
I think we've all done that. I was like trying to prune everything, spending hours of
Hours.
time.
And you're like,
why am I doing this?
I could click the purchase button and for the cost of 3 coffees that fills,
Right.
I'm done. Or one of your teas.
Or one blue bottle.
Or yeah,
Two
exactly.
blue bottles.
The blue bottle is really delicious.
That's good coffee.
I make fun of it a little bit, but I like.
You have one close by, right?
I know it's right around the corner. I will go there after this. But they basically, I get them on Good Eggs or something, and for delivery, and it's like, I was like, oh, it's like $18 for a bag for a pound. I'm like, that's more expensive. It's like $20 for a pound. That's not so bad. Then I got it, and I was like, oh, this is 10 ounces.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is actually like $30 a pound, but it's so good.
It's really good.
It's so good.
Especially if you go and start doing the single origin stuff.
That's what I was all in on single origin.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't even know what it means.
They make some blends that are less expensive, but
Oh.
single origin is like single lot, one producer, not blended.
So it's almost like they're
It's a
not
little bit
cutting
higher
it.
end. Yeah,
They're not cutting it with baking
There's
soda.
no baking powder going in
No
there.
baking powder. This
Right.
is pure Colombian,
That's right.
so to speak. All right, listen. I could talk to Kevin for hours, and we did. 95 minutes.
Sweet.
Congratulations on getting back to San Francisco. Traffic's worse. I'll give you a quick update. Traffic's worse.
Yeah.
Homelessness is worse, and crime's worse.
I saw so many homeless people now, man. It's so sad. It's gotten worse.
insane.
It's gotten a lot worse. Because I used to live in Potrero Hill last time I was here.
Yeah.
Just driving through that neighborhood, there's tents everywhere now.
The tents are amazing. It's just
It's crazy.
we're talking about 7,000 people. You know how other cities solve this?
Tell me how New
Housing-
York did it.
That was a little more controversial. They picked people up and they said, you cannot sleep on the streets at night when it's under 32 degrees. This is my understanding, cursory understanding of it. Giuliani was like, if it's under 32 degrees, because you're going to die. And if you lived in New York during the 80s or 90s, it was pretty tragic. You'd get the New York Post and it, like literally every couple of weeks, homeless person frozen to death, found the body on a grating. It's just really sad.
Wow.
Like, just
That's
people
crazy.
would literally die overnight. They would be drinking or taking drugs or just freezing in the park. They would literally have hypothermia. So they had a little bit of air cover with, it's just, you cannot be on the street. It's too dangerous. They'd pick them up, and then I think they would give them bus tickets back home and pay for the bus ticket back home, put them on the bus, literally. But since that time, I've done a lot of research on this. Housing first is the best solution. So what they've decided to do is in, I think, Texas and Long Island, they will look at the homeless community and say, this person's suffering from mental illness, this person has a substance problem, this person has both, or this person has PTSD that led to self-medication. You know, it's a pretty, there's a couple of tracks to pervasive homelessness, and the researchers are kind of figuring it out. Usually mental illness, PTSD, extreme poverty, losing your job. These are all the gateways into living on the street, which then leads to other things like drug abuse, alcohol, whatever, mental illness, self-medicating. Housing first. You just have to build 7,000 houses. Now, which area is the most NIMBY in the country and will not let anybody build houses? San Francisco.
Right.
So we have two problems that are in a negative cycle, a horrific cycle. We will not build more housing, which means more people. Housing has gotten more expensive, which means the idea that somebody could find a quick place to crash has gone down, which means more homeless. So we cannot break the cycle unless we solve housing, and we have to solve housing first. So we need to be able to say, you know, we're going to make 1,000 units out in Walnut Creek or Lafayette or some area on the BART, and then give those people, this is my plan as mayorjason.com. Hopefully I'll have your vote.
Let's hear the plan.
The plan is very simple. We build these housing first locations. Imagine it's sort of like micro apartments. But you do it out in a community that's on the BART line, and you tell people, listen, you're homeless right now. Here's an opportunity. Would you like to voluntarily have a free place to live? It's way out here on the BART, but you can get back to the city if you have friends here or whatever. And if you go there, we'll also get you counseling, but you get a roof over your head for a year. We just need you to hit this sort of behavioral pattern. You got to, meet with a counselor once every 2 weeks. We want to help you with your job search, whatever it is. And but that would require building these micro apartments in Oakland or Lafayette or wherever that would be out of the central city, because the city's real estate is too valuable to ever accommodate a $600 micro apartment. But you could build for a very small amount of money, $600,000 a month, $7 million a year, 1,000 apartments, and rent them, micro apartments that would be, the size of the studio we're in here, whatever you call it, 150 square feet, which is what these SROs are. But when you put all the SROs together in one place, and it's really interesting, all these SROs here in the Tenderloin were designed literally for like sailors and, people who were moving through here at the turn of the century. For whatever reason, they've kept these SROs, single room occupancies. They're really horrific places to live.
Yeah.
And when you put them all in one place, and you have a drug problem and mental illness and crime, it just breeds upon itself. So you kind of got to break up the central haven, the Tenderloin, and let those people go other places and kind of restart their lives with the community. That would require building housing. Nobody in this goddamn Bay Area will allow housing to be built. Whether it's the people up in Marin, George Lucas tried to build stuff. They stopped George Lucas.
Yeah.
George Lucas gave up. Google tried to build stuff in Mountain View, campuses, dorms essentially and apartments. Mountain View stopped them.
So what's interesting is Portland, Oregon, what they do is they have dedicated spaces for tent encampments, but you have to be inside of this plot of land, and then they kind of monitor that. So they can take people and move them to a safe place where they have their own space. They can set up their own tent.
Fascinating.
But it's like its own dedicated area, and you don't have to build housing that way. But you have to have the land to do it on.
Right, which we have.
Right.
The problem is it's so NIMBY here, not in my backyard, and we really have to move to a YIMBY approach here in San Francisco to solve our problems. You have to be willing to take a one-story, retail location in the Mission or Potrero or whatever and say, you know what? Let's make this 8 stories. And we'll still have the retail at the bottom, but we're going to put 7 apartments above it. And they might be apartments that are high-end. But any housing reduces the strain on all housing, is what all the research shows. So if you were to build $7.5 million lofts at $1,000 or $1,200 a square foot in the Mission, the 7 people who move into that would probably be upgrading from lower end housing in the Mission, where they're living in what was previously housing for poor people.
Right.
Or middle-income people. But you know how it is.
Are you going to run for office? Sounds like you...
MayorJason.com.
Do you own that domain? That would be.
I have the domain.
Do you really?
I have the domain.
That is amazing.
Which makes us halfway there.
Yeah.
I think I get your vote.
Yeah, I think we could talk about it a little bit more.
I think I might be able to get your vote. I think there has to be a common sense approach to solving problems as opposed to a vitriolic class war. And I think that's what's happened is because there's a lot of pain and suffering in San Francisco. This is my observation as somebody who's new to the city, but not new to the problems in the city, but only living here for a couple of years. People are so polarized, just like the rest of the country, that they're not willing to just sit down for a second and say, what would solve the problem?
Right.
And what's a reasonable compromise in solving the problem? They're like, you cannot build, not in my backyard. Whether it's Palo Alto will not allow people to build around their train station. So the state spends all this money on Caltrans, and then Palo Alto gets a station, but they're not allowed to build apartments in Palo Alto? But we gave them a train station? You know what? Maybe the train shouldn't stop there until you build some apartments around the train station, right? Like, we're going to have a reasonable discussion. But you know why those people don't want apartments? The real undercurrent?
Would they want where? At the Palo Alto station?
Or any of these other locations, whether it's Palo Alto, Lafayette, wherever.
They're just afraid?
They're afraid that if those apartments cost less, people are going to move into them who are not millionaires.
Right.
And then guess what those people are going to do?
Yeah, they're worried about it being like some kind of slum or something like that.
They're worried about a different class of person coming in.
Yeah.
Even middle class. And then what they're really scared of, which they don't want to talk about, is that those kids would be able to go to the public schools. And if you think about Palo Alto and Hillsborough and Los Altos and all these different communities have the best public schools because it's all this incredibly rich base of people paying massive taxes.
Right.
So we have like a really unfair, racist or systematically racist system that is unfairly targeting Black and Latinos and Asians and lower income people. And if you were to build more units, paradoxically for the rich or even for the affluent, it would reduce the strain.
I'm liking this idea of mayorjason.com.org.
I just think it's time for some common sense, that's all.
You're going to be running against Zuckerberg.
That would be a very interesting debate. I would demolish Zuckerberg in a debate. He would demolish me on Facebook ads. He would have many more Facebook ads. I guarantee you
He'd have that dialed in.
I would destroy Zuckerberg in a debate. Destroy him. What do you think?
I have never seen like the political side of Zuck. It's interesting. Do you feel that like in watching what he's doing over the last 6 months, like he's been going to every single city across the United States. He's clearly
something's up.
Something's up.
What do you think? What's your thesis?
I think he runs for president.
You do?
I think it's not this next election, but probably the one after.
8 years.
8
from
years,
now.
yeah.
He'll be in his 40s.
I think he'll probably do something a little bit more local initially, maybe governor or something like that.
I think he'd just go straight for the White House.
You think so?
12 years.
I mean, he could.
I tell you what I really think is happening here. This is my cynical view. It is a conspiracy theory, but it's like my cryptocurrency one. I'll run it up the flagpole. You tell me. Cambrian Analytica buys a bunch of ads on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Those ads are to suppress the voters who came out for Obama. They work really well at getting people who voted for Obama to not come out and vote for Hillary. How do they do that? Well, they bought Facebook ads. They targeted specific groups of people, i.e. African Americans, which Facebook allows you to do, target people by their race. Those ads had fake news in them. Those ads were vetted, like all ads are on Facebook or Twitter, and allowed through. That's pretty bad optics, isn't it?
Sure.
Let's add to the optics. What if the Russians...
Were they vetted, though, by the way?
All ads are vetted on all these platforms.
But who's doing the vetting?
It's probably a $15 an hour person in America or a $6 an hour person in India. Either way, the vetting is very light, and the vetting is very strong against things like affiliate links, right? So Facebook will not let you sneak in an affiliate link. But they let all these ads in for Trump to get Black people to not come out and vote for Hillary with fake news. This is the conspiracy theory. It's not necessarily my view, but this is a going.
Do you think they knew that though?
If you worked at Facebook, would you not have looked at the Trump ads that were micro-targeted and that people complained about?
That's a good point.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
And if you're the top 2 people or 3 people at Facebook who are career Democrats who voted for Obama and had many meetings with Obama and supported Hillary, you would certainly have looked at them. So it's impossible to think they didn't know. Then they spent $150 million, $250 million on ads. Where'd the money come from?
Who did?
The Republican Party.
Uh-huh.
Where'd the money come from? Nobody knows.
Super PACs.
Okay, where'd the super PACs get their money?
No, I get it.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's impossible.
Okay, now, what if the super PAC got their money, in part, through these $10 million, $20 million Russian consulting deals or apartment sales? What if the Russians stole databases of Americans that helped with the targeting at Cambridge Analytica that built a 250 million person database of Americans that's never been collected before?
Do you have anything to back this up, or is this just your Jason Bart analogy?
I have I don't mean to get all Alex Jones, but if you look at that series of observations, and then add to that the observation of Zuck, Sheryl, and everybody at Facebook would not pick a side.
They didn't pick a side?
They did not publicly come out for Hillary.
Really?
You cannot find one example of them going out. I'm sure they donated to Hillary. I'm sure they held fundraisers very quietly. They did not publicly go against Trump until after the election. And Zuckerberg just stood up to him over the Paris Climate Exchange, which is kind of the first time he's really stood up to him.
Do you think that's because they kind of have to play the neutral card, being Facebook?
Right. So I think that's exactly right. They probably said, as a platform, we can't be anything but neutral. But then Peter Thiel on the board was more than happy to give $3 million the week after the Trump Access Hollywood tape where he said he would grab people in a certain way or women in a certain way. So he had no shame about putting $3 million in. So we know that the money got spent. We know they did it through ads that were dishonest ads. We know it was to suppress a certain vote. Now what we don't know is, what did Zuckerberg know? What did Facebook know about that money and the targeting? And that they let those ads through that were fake. Facebook will not release those ads. They have those ads. I wonder if the Congress or whatever the Senate or whoever is doing these Senate hearings or the FBI or the Justice Department, I wonder if they have subpoenaed the ads or the data. And there's been a bunch of raids. I don't know if you've seen these raids that occurred at some GOP locations where they went in and the FBI took a bunch of data. Mm-hmm. This is my thesis, is that they're trying to put a connection between the targeting, the micro-targeting of the election. If this is all true, and Facebook has been subpoenaed for this information, Zuckerberg would look as if he had sold out the American Republic to the Russians. What would you do if you had that kind of massive blowback about to blow up in your lap? I would go on a tour of America and try to connect with the American citizens and be a patriot, and I would find God real quick. Which he suddenly, as an atheist, found God, which we know is complete bullshit.
I didn't know that where was the God-related post?
Zuck said he has found God after having a child and being married, and he's now believes in a higher being. He literally made a point as PR people of putting that out there as he went on this tour, that he's a God-fearing man.
Well, it also sounds like someone that's preparing for office, though.
Of course, right. I mean, Hillary Clinton was anti-gay marriage.
Right.
People forget that.
Right.
It's like, well, you can't be president if you don't, But yeah, he found God. He posted on Facebook about it. Anyway.
Crazy.
There you have it, folks. This week in Conspiracy Theories, I'm your host, Alex Jones. That guy, Alex Jones, is just amazing.
I've never seen him.
He's friends with your guy, Joe Rogan. And in fact, Joe Rogan and him ran together in the podcasting early days or something, radio early days. I think they both lived in Austin or something at some point. But Alex Jones broke into I think his claim to fame was that he snuck into the Bohemian camp up north here, whatever they call that. You remember that Bohemian thing?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's private Republican kind of
There's a private Republican guy, male only.
Right.
In the Redwood Forest where they do a satanic burning ritual, pagan ritual. But it's really, people.
Why do you say satanic? It's not satanic.
It's pagan.
Oh, is it pagan?
Well, it's the ritual they do where they burn an effigy. I mean, it's pagan to the extent that Burning Man is pagan.
Okay.
If you burn an effigy, it's pagan-esque, I guess. I don't know. Who knows what's going on? But he filmed this like ritual.
Right.
And that's how he became famous. Was he did like this
interesting.
investigative piece where he snuck in and in the back of the group somehow got a hidden camera in there and watched them do this ritual where they open up their ceremony.
Oh, crazy.
But it's just networking. I know people who've gone. They're just like, yeah, it's just a bunch of dudes networking. And
Yeah.
like somebody who's famous gives a talk about the world.
That's right,
It's
yeah.
sort of like a mini TED in
Like
the
George
woods.
Bush is there. Like
Yeah, George
I know
Bush.
somebody that's gone as well. My old co-host Alex Albrecht went to it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, because his dad is part of it.
Oh, yeah?
So he got invited.
There's always something about Alex. You going to do a Digg reunion? The fans want to
We'd like to, yeah.
We got to do it.
Once we are in the same place at the same time, and
I think it was good for you to
be fun.
close the chapter on it, I'll be honest. Because I remember I talked to you about it. And it was
Yeah.
like, at a certain point, like, if you don't constrain your own art, if you don't put a, end point, then you're just that forever. You become a slave to it.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like, you're going to be the Digg Nation guy. Like,
Yeah, we
Forever.
figured it was like we were both getting married at the time, and we're just like, it's time to kind of wrap this up. We can always come back and do a little bit more adult version later.
yeah, with kids.
We were kind of over our days of chugging 40s and
Chucking 40s. It's amazing how innovative that show was when you think about it. Like, just two guys talking about the internet on a couch. It really was like you were the original YouTubers before YouTube even really took off.
we had fun doing it.
Made a ton of bank, too. People don't realize that was like a cash cow.
It was the main revenue driver for Rev3 for sure.
Yeah. Are you still doing this podcast? You have a couple podcasts, right?
Yeah, so I'm main thing is the newsletter. I announce all the podcasts through that. So the journal.email is the web address for my newsletter.
That's great.
So we should hit about 80,000 members here shortly. We're at like
Are you using
70.
Tiny Letter for that, or are you just using
No, just using MailChimp.
Just MailChimp straight
It's
up?
so expensive.
It is. It's gotten very expensive. You should move to our platform. We just built the Inside platform, and we can use SendGrid on the back end, or we can use Amazon's. So what we did was we built a CMS for publishing newsletters because we have the same problem. MailChimp's incredible and awesome,
Right.
but it's too expensive when you hit scale.
Right.
And so we built our own content management system, and then the endpoints for email are all agnostic to SendGrid, Dyn, or EC2, or whatever Amazon's.
And then you just choose
Simple
which
email.
provider.
Well, right now we just use SendGrid for now, but like literally a developer could go in for a day or two and then put those other ones in. So our plan is to put those other two email service providers in, Dyn and Amazon's, and then ABC, or multivariate test, open rates.
Right.
And right now, SendGrid has the most endpoints for data. So we can get like people we can get user data on, clicking across newsletters. So you could actually look at your newsletter and say, hey, this person or this group of people clicked on a link in all 5 of the last newsletters. And that's 8% of your group. So now you could say, wait a second, who are my most engaged customers? Well, these 8 people, this 8%, these 4,000 people clicked on a link in each of the last 5 or 5 of the last 6. Now you could craft a message just to them because you know that they're the elite, right? So that's what I've been.
Across newsletters, that's pretty impressive because you can do the same thing on a single list
Right.
inside of a MailChimp.
We couldn't do that. So now we're starting to think about, okay, I've
What
got
about
you.
deliverability? Because
So
that's
it's
a
been-
big reason I stay with MailChimp.
Right. So it went up with SendGrid for us, but just very minor. So I think you get your own cohort of IP addresses at SendGrid, so you rise and fall with your own reputation. At MailChimp, you rise and fall, I believe, with the global reputation. And because they don't let people, they turn you off on MailChimp if you get complaints. Like we've been turned off before, because we got 3 complaints or we emailed a list that we hadn't hit in a year.
I see.
And they're like, you got a bunch of complaints. It's like, well, we didn't email the list in a long time. They're like, oh, okay, that seems reasonable. But they don't have a free product, I think, anymore at MailChimp.
I don't think so.
I think they make you put a credit card in. They're going to go public, I think, is probably why they're tightening up the
What a
revenue.
crazy company, huh? All
I mean,
100%
Ben's-
privately funded. Like they're not.
I tried to invest 5-6 years ago when
I don't
they
think
were
they took any money at all.
none.
right?
I was like, Ben, hey, you need a board member. Hey, you want to buy secondary shares? Sell shares? He said, yeah, no, we're good. We're just printing money. I think that thing's doing well over 100 million.
Yeah,
If you think about it,
it's great business.
Well, it shows you focus, right? Like if you focus on something for 10 years and you're just like,
Just the absolute best at that one vertical. That's all they do.
Well, and it's, I mean, for us, I mean, it was literally heartbreaking for me to move Insight off of MailChimp. I was like, I'm so loyal to MailChimp. Not just because they were previously an advertiser on the show, but I just love the product. And it was just like, well, it doesn't do what we need. Nobody does what we need. If we're going to, because the plan is to hit 250 newsletters in 2 years.
Yeah. You're at a different scale, though, than most folks.
Nobody's ever built anything like that. I mean, who's got a newsletter of 250?
How many newsletters do you have now? You're going to be
25 to 30, I think, right now.
Okay.
Inside Bitcoin is this week.
It's launching this week.
This week.
Oh, cool.
So basically what we did was I just said, if 1,000 or 2,000 people sign up, then we try to find a writer, then we launch it. I gave them the goal of 50 newsletters this year, or launch 50 this year, and we had 10 coming into the year, so we should hit 60 by the end of the year. They follow a very simple pattern. We get to 1,000 or 2,000 pre-signing up, and then they grow to 10,000 after a year. And the engagement's tremendous, and we haven't figured out a trick. We don't have a trick. There's no hack. There's no growth hack, really. It's just organic, real. What I love about it's real. It's just like real. There's no gaming or anything. But the piece that's going to be interesting is the flywheel. So if we can get people to pay, right now Launch Ticker has 4% of people have paid. 1,100 people pay $10 a month, so it makes $100,000 a year. It does $150 a year, $150 a year in advertising, so $200K. So that seems like nothing. But then times that by 200 newsletters.
Yeah.
Now we got something, right? Now we're starting to really start to have a significant business. So my plan is to try to get each one to have a dedicated journalist on each one, and then have the best journalist in the world make unlimited revenue, unlimited salary from running that newsletter.
So how do you do the split with them?
I don't know yet. Right now I'm just paying people straight up.
Per newsletter?
Per hour.
Per hour, okay.
Or per newsletter. But my plan eventually is to put them on salary, if they want to be, or just cut a deal with them and say, App Store 70-30. You take 70, we'll take 30. Or maybe even you take all the subscription revenue, like if it was someone like you, or if it was somebody who, Josh Williams started a newsletter, we say, you take 100% of the subscription revenue, you don't have to pay for MailChimp anymore. We'll put you on our homepage, so we're going to get you subscribers, and all we ask is that we co-reg the emails so we can market to them later, which is pretty standard for YouTube or anybody. And then we get to represent your ad inventory. But if you want to leave, you can leave at any time. That's my plan.
Crazy. That's awesome.
I think it could work. I don't think many people want to run this business because it's so hard, but I have this inside domain name that I pursued for so many years. I was like, God, I just want to I know that there's 250 topics in the world and maybe 100 of them change every 10 years, but there's 150 really solid ones. And then there's Bitcoin and things that pop up, AI. And people just want to be informed and be smarter. And they don't want any other bullshit.
Right. Exactly. That's why I signed up for your AI. I'm like, I just want AI news.
Just make me smarter about AI.
Yeah.
And it's not too much to read, and it comes on the weekend, and you're like, fuck it. Now, the question is, when we send it to you twice a week, are you going to be annoyed or inspired?
Why'd you say it comes on the weekend? You only deliver on the weekend?
No, that one just happens to come on the weekend. We're testing once a week. It feels like Saturday and Sunday in business is particularly effective because people have no email, and people like yourselves or people like yourself or other people who are in the industry are trying to get a jump on their careers or just be smarter on the weekends. They do some casual reading. So if a thought piece comes in on Sunday or Saturday about development or AI, so we send development on Saturday and AI on Sunday, I think, we find people wait for it, and they're like, it's kind of like getting your Sunday New York Times.
Right,
you have time to read it.
Right.
You have time on Sunday. You don't have time Monday through Friday. So we'll see.
Are you going to create a client to consume all of these in?
Well, that's how we started. We started with an app.
Right.
And what happened with the app, it had 500,000 downloads, and less than 1% of people open the app every day. People
but it wasn't dedicated newsletters.
We tried doing...
It was more like news.
It was general news. Then we tried doing some verticals, and people just forget the apps exist. Even with notifications, they just burn out to them. Email, and then we're like the App Store's bitch, we got to App Store optimize. And we had 11 people on the app teams. When you want to build a real sustainable app, you need to have 2 people on iOS, 2 people on Android,
right?
1 designer, product manager, junior product manager, customer support, right? You're kind of what do you think? 8 people is minimum to have a company that does this?
Yeah, about that. 5, 6, maybe 7, yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're a fancy company like media, maybe you have 2 or 3 designers, and maybe you have an extra iOS developer, so now you're on the dozen people working on the apps. I think it's 10 people, for an at-scale app company.
Sure.
You also need the back-end people to be managing that.
Not anymore.
Well, sysapp. You may need a sysadmin just to optimize a little bit.
Oh, man. I just use everything in Firebase and call it a day.
It's so good.
So good.
Isn't that amazing that the whole struggle was to keep my site up?
Right.
And now it's just like, of course your site's going to be up.
Yeah, and it's 75 cents a month to pay for it. It's so cheap.
All right. So this is going to go down in history as like a Chris Sacca level episode. It's great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you.
Looking forward to spending time together now that you're here. And everybody check out Zero, the fasting app. Join the Facebook group. Search for Oak Meditation in the Facebook groups area, and you can follow the progress with 15,000 other folks. And the journal, which is at kevinrose.com. Where did I find that?
Just the journal.email. Just go there.
You got the email.
Yeah, .email, and that'll take you to where you can sign up.
The journal.email. And if you need to watch, Hodinky. Did I get it right? Hodinky?
That's it.
Hodinky. Is that going to be a good return? Are we going to do okay?
For Hodinky?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. It's doing
Yum, yum.
crazy good. It's
What's the outcome for a business like that? Who is that? Is there like a public, or does it have to get bought?
I think it's a
be a
good question.
cashier?
It really comes down to how Switzerland opens up their e-commerce efforts. Like if they decide to sell new stock online, which some of them are game for and others aren't quite yet.
So you're restricted to the secondary market for the high-end watches.
That's right. We don't really touch that. We touch a little bit of vintage and then limited edition pieces and collaborations that we do directly with the brands. So I think it's a $40 to $50 million business as it stands today. And probably if that other piece opens up, then you're talking.
Wow. At a zero.
I mean, you gotta imagine right now, new stock watch sales are double-digit billions of dollars per year.
What?
It's still insane. Because you got to remember, this is the high end we're talking about. Anything sub $300, it's game over. It's all smart watches. Like that's that's kind of.
Are they going to put smart intelligence into the higher end watches? Do you think?
No. They
No
won't
way.
do that. No, it's
So
a different thing.
If you want that, you have to wear two watches, or what do you do?
I think most people have like a Fitbit or something like that, or just something they keep like a ring or something else.
So you'll have something small like that.
That's right.
It'd be interesting to see if I could have like a Rolex and then put a small pad on the back of it. I always thought somebody
They
should
have that.
They do.
Yeah, they have that. There's a couple companies that are making little pads to go on the back of watches. They give you steps and they give you activity.
Yeah, I
and
was
things
thinking that
like
would be the easy solution.
And there's bands that have that built in now, so you can swap out the band and have that.
See, that's what I was thinking with the band's even more clever because you can have more battery life and
That's
more
right.
functionality. All right. Thanks, Kevin Rose, and thanks, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, and the whole team here at This Week in Startups. If you want to come to the Launch Angel Summit in Napa, you got to be an angel investor or an early-stage venture capitalist. 40 of the 50 seats are taken. Just Google Launch Angel Summit. It's 2 days in the wine country. First day, only investors. Second day, each investor gets to bring one founder to network. So 50 investors, then 50 founders. It's a kind of a deal flow thing, you know?
That's awesome.
It's like I think about it, if you're coming, then you only bring one founder the next day. You really stand behind that, right? Somebody you invested in.
Right.
So then I'm like, oh, well, have you met Henry from Cafe X? And you're like, oh, have you met this person from Cozy?
This is going to be in Napa this time, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The Angel Summit, we have done some locally here. It's very popular. And then we decided we wanted to do like a retreat to kind of like bond deeper with people. So we made it like the Allen and Company retreats, which is like a half day of programming, half day of events. So petanque, bocce ball, cooking class, horseback riding. We did skeet shooting, like clay pigeon shooting. That was fun. Poker at night. So it's just kind of like a boondoggle, but very intimate. So you can actually make a meaningful relationship or two. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.